We did that via email, so that was approved already. The motion by Tim Smith and a second by Corey Odlin for $2,000, so it's been taken care of already, so we really don't need to vote on that one. We'll start out with the Buckin Wild Ranch Cabin Fever Auction, and I believe Nick's here for a request of $2,000.
Hi, I'm Nick. We got some flyers. This will be our fifth year in Mitchell. We put on the Cabin Fever auction. It's actually in about a week, the 24th and 25th of February, and we bring a lot of people to Mitchell for our auction. We get a lot of people from Tennessee. I get a few people from Tennessee, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, North Dakota, and Minnesota. So we bring a lot of people to the city, and a lot of them, we have a 2-day auction, so a lot of them will come and stay for 2 or 3 days. They do the food, the gas, the shopping. We bring a lot of income to the city for our auction, and as we started this 5 years ago, there was a gentleman that did it before us, so it's kind of a known thing that we do this auction every year, and we took it over 5 years ago, so a lot of people know about it, and a lot of people support us and come to the city for the auction. And we've been doing a lot of advertising to try to get more people to our auction. It's as we started this auction, we didn't get a lot of information with the guy that took it over, so we're trying to do more advertising and trying to get more people further away to come to the auction. As far as our expenses, we hire a lot of people. We have to hire auctioneers. As far as ourselves, we get 43 motel rooms, or 43 nights of rooms for our help. We get the rooms for our help and stuff, so we get a lot of expense wrapped up, and we do get some income back, but it just seems like there's not a lot, that we make on our auction, but we're not in the red, but we're just kind of making it work as of right now until we get a lot better footing under ourselves. Like I said, we sell a lot of the antiques and the horse items and wagons and buggies, a lot of different items that you don't see a lot of, so we get a lot of consigners that bring stuff to our auction and sell, and then in return we charge them commissions and stuff like that. So
Anybody have any questions?
On your expenses, $9,500 for wages, what would that be for?
yeah, we hire a lot of people for the help and stuff. We have to have X amount of people. My wife had it all wrote down, but we pay each person $150 a day. And some people I get from Thursday till Sunday. As far as paying them, to help us and stuff, we have to hire all the help, and we have a lot of carrying stuff, moving stuff. Obviously we rent the fairgrounds, and we fill up the fairgrounds as far as that. So it's there's a lot of stuff moving back and forth. Carrying stuff to people's vehicles, helping load out. I think there's, I'd have to think there's probably 30 or 35 people, just a rough guess. I don't know the exact number as far as the people that we hire to help, and it might not be that either, but it's right in that general area,
So then the hotel rooms, do you pay for them?
Yep, and we pay for the hotel rooms for our help too.
Okay.
That's part of the, we could, if we would pay them less and then, get a motel room, that's kind of part of their, for working and stuff, so. And there's not much help that we get from Mitchell, because obviously we're from Flanders, so we have to get other people to come, bring a crew with us to, to come, help with the auction and stuff, so.
Okay.
And a lot of the people do stay.
Yeah, a lot of them do, yeah, they get, a lot of the motels and stuff, and a lot of them go out to eat, they do the food and stuff like that, probably shopping, different stuff like that, so.
Anything else, anybody? Thank you.
Thanks for putting it on.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Next, we'll go to DW Soccer, the 13th annual indoor classic, and we'll get DW coaches.
Hello, I'm Coach John Hockery. I'm the relatively new women's soccer coach here at DWU, and this is Nicholas Reinhard, the relatively new men's soccer coach here at DWU. So nice to meet everybody. Yeah, we have the 13th annual Futsal Classic coming up in 2 weekends. Historically, this has brought between 780 and 1,400 players to Mitchell. We've had historically between 78, and then we maxed out at 133 teams. This year, we're looking at about 50% attendance. This tournament had historically been the old women's coach's brainchild. It was Clay Glasgow's brainchild. He has created 2 tournaments, one the weekend before and the weekend after at his new school. So his relationship with Dakota Alliance Soccer Club, which is the biggest club in the state, they've all kind of gone to those tournaments. So we suspect that's what's causing the turnout, but our plan is to give these kids and parents a great experience and sort of reestablish the tournament's name and credibility so that we can win some hearts back in the future. So that's why we're a little bit down on numbers. We have picked up an additional state, so we have some teams from Minnesota this year that are coming in. I have relationships with clubs and high schools in Nebraska. That's where I came from. So in the future, I'd like to leverage that to get some of those teams up here. That's our plan moving forward. Any questions about that? We're going to.
How many teams did you say you're having?
We have 60 registered.
That's still pretty nice.
Yeah, we have a roster of 10, so about 10 kids per team is about what we have this year. So, for expenses, in the past, the way that it was ran was they had outside referees come in. So they were paying for referees from out of town, out of state to come in, pay for their food, hotel, and then pay obviously for the referees themselves for the refereeing. This year, Coach Reinhardt has spent a ton of time getting the kids, or our players, referee certified. So we're actually going to save expenses there with not having to pay for hotels, and the money that we're paying referees will be going to our students, to our players. So that's one of the costs that we've reduced. Then we were not paying athletic trainers this year. We haven't advertised having athletic trainers, and we're registered certified through South Dakota Youth Soccer, so there's liability coverage there. So that's another expense that we're going to cut this year. Now, unless you have any questions, I'll pass it over to Coach Reinhardt.
Thank you. Looking at the event budget for this year, so just to go through it a little bit so you understand like why we need all of this stuff. So whistle, soccer balls, and futsal goals is just, it's been ran for such a long time. One of the goals broke, so we need to get a new goal. Management and awards, so the championship medals are ordered to kind of, give them a reward at the end. We don't just want them to come in and play and be first and not get a prize for it. The website is, we use HTG Sports for it, which is a really, really good website. It makes our life really easy. So they charge a fee as well. The sanctioning fee went up $100. That's just to have the tournament sanctioned, which is a big attraction for all the clubs because they only want to attend sanctioned tournaments, which basically means like they're certified referees and it's a serious tournament. And then the referees, like he had already mentioned, we were able to cut it by more than $4,000 just by using the students. And so the grant we're requesting, the $1,500, is basically, there's two ways that we look at it. As the first thing is a reward for the students. Like, first of all, in order for us to revive the tournament, we need buy-in from students because there's so many, like both teams, you have what, 24 girls? I currently have 21 guys plus seniors, so 29. So everybody will be working because it's such a big tournament. And they invested like 2 full days in my office getting certified and going through all of it. So first of all, it'll be a reward because it'll cover the refereeing expenses and kind of hit our goal of can we reduce that cost. But the most important thing for the grant is, and we're not nearly requesting as much as we have in the future, is more like an investment into us and into the tournament because, again, like we don't complain about Clay at all. He's amazing. That's a fantastic idea he had. Like, we don't blame him for taking that and doing it at the other university. I think it's really good. But we kind of have to earn our trust first, earn our trust with the clubs. It also takes time. Like, we've been here for 8 months. This summer we'll be coaching camps in the area. He has connections to Nebraska. I'll be going out to Rapid. So just for us, like doing camps throughout the summer, we get the connection with the coaches, and we've already done that through recruiting as well. So I really think it just takes time, and then now that we've gone through the process for the first time, it's going to be easier next year now that we know, like, hey, at what time do you submit which paperwork? So next year, I think we can even add some extras where we can maybe create a logo for the tournament to brand it even better, where we can bring even more sponsors in or send better advertisement out to, like, hey, these are really nice restaurants you could go to. So really the grant would just be an investment into us and the future of the tournament, trying to revive it. Any questions?
Sounds good to me.
Do you remember, John, maybe you know, has it always been that same weekend?
It's kind of rotated, like last year, I think it was the week before, but it's always kind of fell like within those 2 weeks of the Super Bowl. And last year we had to move up, or one of those years we had to move up because, what was it? Because it might have been wrestling, GPAC Wrestling Championships. were
Seemed like
coinciding.
it was always Valentine's weekend or something.
Yep. So, yeah, it's kind of just been around that Super Bowl weekend a little bit, on the front end of it or the back end of it, but I think last year was the first year where we really got maybe thrown off because we were also hosting GPAC Wrestling Tournament Championships.
And we inherited this date.
Yeah.
It's locked in ahead of time, so if you
Yeah.
guys have input on a better or different date, we're open to it. We inherited this date from.
It's really hard as well, because if you look at our attendance, like, pretty much every single team that has signed up is a soccer club. So high school soccer is being played in the fall up here, and then they play club in the spring. So like March, April, May, they travel to tournaments, they have their championships. In the fall, they have high school, so we really just have a little gap, like Christmas break plus January, February, where we can host a tournament where everybody has time.
I think you guys would know the best for dates with other schedules and things, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's something where, if we were to do it in the summers, you transition from club to high school, I don't think we would get a good turnout. We could brand it as something where anybody could create a team, but I don't think we would hit that number or grow it, because our biggest attraction is just offering indoor soccer during the winter, which is a really big opportunity up here because of the weather,
And
so,
it's better for the hotels this
Better
time
for
of
the
year.
hotels in the
Yeah.
winter.
yeah.
Are the Mitchell Soccer Association teams attending this one? Are they been supportive of it?
Yeah, they're attending it, not nearly as many teams as the
Historically.
other clubs, but they're also a smaller club compared to the other clubs. So, yeah, we have 3 or 4 teams, I
Yeah,
think?
from Mitchell. Watertown Youth Soccer Association seems to be the big one. They bring
Yeah.
all their teams down here every year, so.
Yep.
That was a big
Well,
one.
know that after, you'll just have to do it once, and next year you'll have those connections, you'll
Exactly.
be able to, so good luck.
I think it's a normal thing in
Yeah.
coaching transition,
Yes.
so.
Appreciate that you're not asking as much because you know you're not going to have as many teams, but you still got 600-plus people coming in, so. Looks
Yeah.
like a good tournament to start, get your feet under.
So these teams that are coming just off the wall, we've always kind of wrestled with, do they pay an entry fee, I'm sure, to register, right?
Yep.
You think you'd get more teams if we paid the entry fees for them? Or do you think it's not that big of a expense if they don't care?
I don't know, I'm just gonna do stream of consciousness here, because I don't know exactly, but I'm thinking, when you have 10 kids, so we did not increase our registration fee from the past, so it's $250 per team, and that's the same as they've done the last couple of years. It comes out to about $25 per kid, which, as a parent, if you're thinking $25 and my kid's playing 4 games of soccer, that's kind of a good deal in the grand scheme of things. So I don't know how much of an impact covering their fees would be, but I mean, I'm sure it would incentivize. I'm certain there's a couple teams that maybe don't register because of money, but I'm not certain. Those are just kind of my thoughts on it.
But is that kind of typical? I mean, the 250 from what you see, like,
I would say typical tournaments is even more.
Yeah.
it is.
You have to pay even more. And something that we can consider is to set the registration deadline a little bit earlier, and if we're short on teams, to call clubs and be like, hey, if you come in, we'll cover your fee. But at the same time, like, it also serves as a fundraiser for both teams, and the registration fee is kind of our fundraising. So like if we were to cover all the fees, then it wouldn't really be a fundraiser. But I think setting the deadline ahead, see if we can get enough signups, and then if we're short teams, we can call them and maybe say, hey, why don't you come for free and try it out? That's something we can do.
And I'm currently coaching a team or assistant coaching a team with Dakota Alliance. And so that Dakota Alliance is the biggest club in the state. And those teams all went with Clay to his tournament. So as we repair those relationships, I think we can earn some of those back. So.
Just curious, has he got really good facilities to hold this over there? I don't know what he's got.
I don't know.
He's the head coach at Southwest Minnesota State.
Okay.
So I would say our facilities are just as good, if not better, than SMSU's in regards to what they can offer for indoor soccer. But I think we got more indoor square footage in regards to the field house. But Clay's got the relationships. You know what I mean? I think that's been the biggest thing. So it's just kind of getting a good product out there and having a good successful tournament in this first year with new coaches, I think will be key. And hopefully we get, these teams to recommit next year. And then after that, you guys know, it's word of mouth. After that, like, hey, it's at the same level or if not better than what, Clay ran it with. So I think that's just kind of where we're at with it.
It's not a competition, it's just they got to get to know us and earn the trust first. They're going to, I would imagine every club will want to get as many tournaments in as possible. It could be even something where we call Clay next year and are like, hey, let's structure this so we're not bracketed into yours. Like I said, it's not a competition, it's just they got to get to know us. We've been here for 8 months, so.
Do you see, like West River where you can grow, or outside of the state, or where are you seeing the teams in the past that have come that aren't coming now?
So the first year he had it, it was fairly, the second year it was diverse between South Dakota, Iowa, and Nebraska. And it looks like 2017 to 2022 it just stayed South Dakota and North Dakota. And then this year we added Minnesota. I think 1 or 2 teams are from Minnesota. So I think with him having coached in Nebraska, we'll get lots of those teams on the radar next year. And then I have recruited heavily from the Rapid area, and we have some teams coming from there as well. So I think if their players now come in the fall and play with the men's team, and then they go back to their clubs and tell them, like, this is a great opportunity to come, first of all, visit the city, play soccer in the spring, and also potentially be recruited by us. I think next year we'll get the fruits off of that.
Yeah, West River, we have some decent registrations, Pier and Rapid, but I think the winning back Dask, winning back Dakota Alliance is going to be big for numbers, and then obviously dipping into other states like Nebraska.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we'll go with Mitchell Music Booster and Show Choir Classic. And I think Matt Collins is going to talk.
That's me.
All right.
How's everybody doing? Good. So we have our Show Choir Classic scheduled for March 18th, which is a Saturday. I think when we presented for the last year or two, a lot of the same faces are here, and so Jim Miskimmons had previously been doing this, and he had a kid graduate out, and I've got a senior this year, so you'll hopefully hear from somebody else new next year. But Mitchell Show Choir is something that has great tradition built around it. We always travel well as a group, and our kind of our crown jewel of our season is being able to host this Show Choir Classic, which is always around the same time in March. I believe that this next year is the 30th anniversary of that classic. We don't compete in that one because as a host school you can't win it, but we do obviously host teams, and we'll have I believe the number is 20 teams registered. A normal show choir is going to have 50 to 60 singer dancers. another dozen people in a band. And so you start doing the math on that, and there's going to be a lot of people coming to Mitchell on that weekend. We have a team coming from Troy, Missouri, who I know already has some hotel rooms booked. And you're looking at, again, probably 100 plus kids, because there's 2 different choirs there. And I just did some rough math last night on rooms that we typically would pay for. And just from a revenue standpoint, that one team will bring in $7,500 of just hotel revenue on a conservative end. Those kids eat, parents will come with. When our kids travel, we were just in Des Moines, Iowa last weekend, and there was at least 24 parents. I booked the rooms, so I know we had 15 parent rooms booked along with 26 kid rooms booked for a Friday and Saturday night. And so the way that show choir events work, like there's always a preliminarily or a prelim daytime performance, and then you have a finals performance, and so there's always a break. And so like my wife and I in Des Moines, like we perform, and then there's the break, and then we come back for finals at 8:30, and so we went out to eat. And we're spending money in Urbandale, Iowa. So we're not the minority there. We were sitting right next to a couple people from Johnston, Iowa, which is like 15 miles away, but they're still there for finals, and so they're sitting there eating. And so even if you have teams from Aberdeen or Sioux Falls or Huron, like they're going to stay in Mitchell for that event. Maybe not overnight, but they are going to spend money there. On an overnight standpoint, though, like I said, minimum you're going to have 100 plus kids plus a dozen to 15 parent rooms on just that one team. And I know we have teams from Iowa and Nebraska coming as well. So probably not a 2-night stay there, but a for sure Saturday night stay. I think we've got the profit and loss there, and I guess one other thing that I would point out about our group, so I'm the treasurer of this group, and just from a fundraising perspective, we have 3 major fundraisers that we run throughout the year. We have the first one is Up With Show, which is very community oriented. The second one is Show Choir Classic, that's the one where we bring people in from across the country, and then the third one is another community oriented fundraiser. So specifically, it's why we ask for your assistance on this event, because this event does generate overnight room stays. The other ones really don't. And we, our 2 biggest expenses for this event are judges and concessions. We have to buy the food, which we do end up selling, but that's a big ticket item. And then the judges is really the other one that, we wouldn't get the team from Troy, Missouri, if we didn't have the right judges. That's a really important thing. Like when our director looks at which competitions we're going to go to, who the judges are matter there. And so I know last year we flew in judges from, I think it was Alabama, and those plane tickets weren't cheap. And so we have to bring in high caliber judges to get these high caliber teams that end up spending the overnight stays. And so from a judge's perspective, we will spend $5,000 this year just on judges. Any specific questions? I could probably keep rambling, but if anybody has questions, please feel free to.
On your P&L, you've got $5,095 under revenue for merchandise sales.
Yep.
What do you sell?
So we have competition T-shirts that we will sell. So our group has a theme every year. So we'll sell that stuff. So a hoodie, a hat, a T-shirt. For that event, we'll have a specific Show Choir Classic T-shirt. So if a kid goes to a basketball tournament or a wrestling tournament or a cheer tournament, there's always a T-shirt specific to that event. And so we'll sell things like that. In addition to, I don't know, hats, candy bars, etc.
How many judges do you got, Coley, for this?
Man, that's a good question, Johnny. 5 to 6, without knowing for sure. When I was at Des Moines, like they were sitting up top, and I looked back, and I could see 4 of them for sure, but I want to say there's probably 5.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Okay,
Good
you
luck.
bet. And thanks for, and, always at least agreeing to hear from us, because being from Mitchell, I just appreciate the ability to come by and ask you guys for help, so thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Matt.
you. We'll go to the approval of the minutes.
I'll do that.
Second.
Got a motion by Brian, second by Kevin. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Motion passed. Financial report.
I guess I can answer any questions that you have on there. I did take off the $10,000 for 2023 Fall Special Olympics because you've already written a check for that. But as you go down, can you scroll down, Aaron? On the bottom, you'll see that January was down compared to, the only year it wasn't down from was 2021. Every other year in comparison, January is down, but we did have 2 hotels left to collect, but those are very small amounts that were due for January. So down in January compared to previous years, which was actually, would have been really December stays. And it coincides with our sales tax and entertainment tax collections for December as well. They were also both down.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Tim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Motion passed. Updates and evaluations of the financials.
There was no evaluation form submitted, but I can go into, I guess I just wanted to share a little bit about I guess you could call it an event recruitment update, but Coach Jimmy Nicholas, Mitchell Technical College, the Mavericks Rodeo, there was an article, I think it came out just before Christmas in the Mitchell Republic. I'm not very familiar with rodeo, but it caught my attention. I reached out to him in regards to that and just wanted to meet with him and I guess learn a little bit of information about a rodeo competition. Potentially, what it would take to maybe have the thought of bringing a spring competition to Mitchell. He's quite the guy, I guess.
He's not bashful.
Very knowledgeable, ambitious, I guess would be another word I'd use. I guess that was kind of my take. We had an hour-and-a-half meeting. He shared a little bit of everything. So the MTTC Rodeo team, they're a part of the National Intercollegiate Rodeo Association, which they're a member of the Great Plains region, which consists of 15 schools. A few in South Dakota, a few in Iowa, a few in North Dakota, a couple in Nebraska, and then 1 out of Wisconsin. So out of those 15 schools, there's 10 that have annual competitions that count towards, I guess, they qualifying, where they receive points to go to this national competition. So to kind of sum it up, there really, at this time, isn't the opportunity to look into bringing a rodeo competition to Mitchell because these 10 schools are kind of on an annual rotation, per se, to host these qualifying competitions to bring the rodeo. 270 participants compete. There's 21 members on our Mitchell Technical College Mavericks Rodeo team. You shared that with me. Just an estimate, he had 70% of the team's contestants, they do stay, Thursday through, would leave Sunday. Friday and Saturday would be their main competition. And he just kind of threw out a number, but to host a college rodeo competition, minimum budget of about $30,000 to start. So I guess that's just kind of the feedback I got. It was, for me, interesting because I was not brought up or unfortunately haven't even been to the Stampede Rodeo. So to learn a little bit about the rodeo competition itself, the show, per se, you use the word show a lot. I guess it was just an interesting meeting.
So are you talking outdoor or indoor?
It would be an outdoor.
Outdoor.
He was, you know, you would think, again, the possibility isn't even on the table until one of those 10 schools either relinquish it or just say, we don't want it. But it would be, you know, probably late March, April.
Do we have a rodeo arena?
Would be a lot of,
We got one, but I don't know.
so yeah, that was just, I wanted to share this with you guys.
So does Mitchell Tech have any, do they want to get on the rotation?
He said if there was a spot out of those 10 that didn't want the competition, he sounded, I think if he wasn't the rodeo coach, he could probably be an event planner. It was just a really good conversation. Where are we at? Mr. Greenway, if you want to share your Hoop City Classic news that you have.
Oh, I was saying I had some recap from since we last met, but on the Hoop City, they Ernie called and he'd asked if we'd be interested in an extra day, and I don't know any of the details, but they did call and they would like to bring all 3 days of the Hoop City Classic to the Corn Palace next year, which is a Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday, 28th, 29th, and 30th of December. But with that comes the youth tournament, which is, I have not been to that. It's always been at the Pentagon when they've done that, but it's 70 teams, 70 to 80 teams.
I've been there, and there's a lot of teams there.
And I think they have, it's not like soccer, but they might have 7 to 10 players, probably not over 10 per team. And they're working with Dakota Wesleyan to do that. So I don't know the details, and maybe auxiliary gyms around Mitchell. We would host varsity games and some JV games here. Some of those teams bring JV teams, and which we did this year. We actually had 14 games the one day with 9, which 9 games varsity games is a lot. That's a very long day. But we ran 9 varsity games and 5 JV games here at the Corn Palace and Armory this year. So anyway, so that's pretty exciting. I don't know why. I think we do it very well here. I mean, hotels are accommodating here. But I think it's a pretty good opportunity for us. And I guess just a couple other notes on events since the last time you met that you sponsored, the Hanson Girls Classic. They ticketed 1,586 people through the door this year, and the boys was 1,946 through the door. That's not counting any athletes, of course, coaches, cheerleaders, anything like that. That's ticketed people through the door. So, and those were a couple of good Saturdays for sure. And I think I reported on the Sacred Hoops in the Hoop City.
Thanks.
And then obviously last week, Friday and Saturday, were the DW Pulvers Classics, which, I'd only experienced those once because we had COVID and we went because of the year, and then we had the state gymnastics last year, so they were not here. So we were very happy to have those back, and I don't know how they went. At girls' games in the morning were very small crowds, 9 a.m. on a Friday. There's a lot of schools, I think, in session, probably, and people working. But by noon, then we started to pick that up, and it was very steady.